Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. This week I want to share with you all of my tips and tricks for saving money on groceries and how I do a meal plan on such a strict budget. So I have a ton of meal plans that you can look at. If you want to check those out, go ahead and take a look. They're on my channel. But today I really want to show you how to use things that you have on hand and how to really stretch that budget and try to avoid overspending. So let's get started. For me, this is the main mistake that I make. I let my pantry get completely disorganized and then I have no idea what I have on hand and I end up buying doubles or not using what I have on hand. So first things first, I'm going to reorganize this and then I'll take an inventory. First thing I do when I reorganize the pantry is I look for almost completely gone open bags of snacks or random things like that that may be stale, and I just throw those away. And then next I'll check the expiration dates on anything else that's open and just make sure that it hasn't been open too long to be stale or not edible at that point. And then I just group everything together that's supposed to belong together, kind of face everything, bring the labels to the front so I can see it better, and just get everything put back where it's supposed to be so I can see it. With kids, it really does get disorganized pretty quick, but it only takes a few minutes to get it reorganized. Okay, now it is looking so much better. I can clearly see what we have on hand, what dry ingredients that I need to use before I go shopping again. So as you can see, I have a lot of small amounts of lentils, some rice, red split lentils, this lotto rice. So not like an entire bag's worth, but just enough to make maybe one meal with. And I've got some canned items over here, a lot of mac and cheese because I buy it on sale. So we're not going to be eating a ton of that, but I may use it as a side. And if y'all are making your vanilla as well, just like I am, don't forget to shake it. Do that about once a month or so. I do have those vanilla bean pods down below in a link if you'd like to check those out and make your own. This is kind of a budget-friendly way of saving money on vanilla extract. Then I also have some breadcrumbs, cornmeal, all of my, baking goodies and things like that, my oils. So I think I'm really well set up. We have plenty of snacks, as you can see, and then I do have some condiments there. So lots and lots of things to work with. So let's get to the fridge and freezer next. The refrigerator isn't terribly messy. I do try to keep this one sort of organized, but I do have a lot of fruits and veggies I need to look through in here to make sure that I go through them before they go bad. And I have some shredded cheese. I've got this triple cheese blend, Colby Jack, mozzarella. I've got extra sharp white cheddar and sharp cheddar cheese here too, and some blue cheese and a little bit of Parmesan. So lots of different cheese options. Next is my freezer. So this is my meat drawer down here. I do have quite a bit of tuna that we caught fresh. I need to go through that before it goes bad. We have some frozen bacon in here, some raw chicken. I do have some chicken bones to make stock. I bought some boars and cheese on clearance. It was about to go past the Best Buy date, so I just threw this in the freezer. Got lots of tomatoes and zucchini in the freezer and some bell peppers too. So now I have my meal planner. It's been used quite a bit. I created this myself. You can find this down in the description too if you want to grab it on Amazon. But I have the pantry, freezer, and refrigerator inventory sheets here. So I just usually write the quantity that we have in pencil and any notes, maybe like if I think there's an expiration date I need to know about. Take those things and then write down what I think I can make with that and if I need to pick anything up at the grocery store. So now I'm just going to show you what kind of ideas I feel like I can make with all of the food that we have on hand. So let's get cooking. First thing I'm doing for the week is making a batch of no-knead bread and also trying to make a recipe for sandwich bread this week, just so we can have some things like toast to have for breakfast or as sides to go with meals I'm making this week. And that's kind of the fun of it when you just have a few things on hand, you're not sure what to make, is you can look up different recipes or ideas for things to make for the family and kind of experiment. I've never made sandwich bread before, but I'm hoping that this will actually turn out really well. And since I'm already in the kitchen, I'm also going to make some pancakes and waffles. I like to make these in bulk and then freeze them for the rest of the week. It's super easy. It doesn't take much time at all. I think it takes me maybe 30 to 45 minutes altogether to make batches of pancakes and waffles for the entire week. And then we just microwave it or toast it when it's time. The bread doesn't take a ton of time as far as cooking goes. It just takes a little bit of time to wait for it to rise and proof. And other than that, it really doesn't take much time at all to make bread. And I'm always happy when I take the time to just mix it on up and wait for it to rise and bake it, because then we have a lot of options for the rest of the week. This took me about 1 hour to complete. I have about 20 minutes left to let those rise. I can bake them, and then after they cool, I can slice them and we'll have toast for the week. We've got breakfast for the week, and I'll probably boil some eggs or scramble some eggs to go with these two.
Let me just tell you, baking this bread is actually so easy, and if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend giving it a shot, especially with the no-knead bread. That one is just so fast and so easy and so satisfying. Just look at the inside. My dog is waiting for a little piece, but he's not going to get any. But listen to the way this cuts. And you can really control how crunchy you want it by not baking it too long after you take the lid off. So that just depends on personal preference. And this is the sandwich bread.
Oh, that looks delicious.
This one tasted a little bit plain. Next time I'm going to play with the recipe and add a few different flavors or play with just the amount of sugar and salt, but it did end up being nice and fluffy. So this first dinner idea is using the butternut squash that I have. You can use a damp towel or paper towel under your cutting board to keep it still when you're cutting, because butternut squashes definitely take a little bit of effort. Just want to have a nice sharp knife, and you just push it through really carefully to sort of separate the bulbous end and the straight end, and make sure you cut off the end so that way everything doesn't roll around when you're trying to cut it. So this is definitely the part you want to be most careful with, and make sure you have a nice sharp knife. But after that, it's pretty simple. You're just going to sort of cut off the ends like this. Try to get as close as you can to the squash, the flesh on the inside there, so you're not cutting off too much. But it's pretty simple after that. It doesn't take a lot of effort, really. It's just sort of peeling it. You could use a peeler if you want, but I find that a knife usually works a lot faster and easier. And then scooping out the seeds is very similar to a pumpkin. Just get a spoon that's got sort of sharp edges and scoop it on out. And then we're just going to make some slices in the bulbous end here. And after that, just sort of cube it into bite-sized chunks. Just try to make the chunks about the same size each, so that way it's pretty consistent. We're going to be roasting these in the oven, so to ensure that everything gets cooked evenly, we just want to make sure they're about the same size, but don't stress if they're not quite equal. That's totally fine. Now with the straight end, we're also going to do the same thing. We're just going to be slicing off the outside very carefully, trying not to get too much of the flesh there, because we want to make sure we get as much butternut squash as we can out of this. But with this, since it's not hollow in the middle, we don't want to cut it in half. First, we're going to slice off one end, and then you're going to lay it down so it's on its flattest end there with the most surface area, so it's safer to cut. And then continue to slice off pieces like this that are about maybe ½ inch thick or so. And then we'll continue to slice and cube like we did with the other pieces, and it ends up being really easy. It's not too hard to actually slice these pieces and cube them super fast after you get everything all cut in half. Now I took one of those boursin cheeses out of the freezer and let it thaw for just a few minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes on the counter, and added it to a large casserole dish. I want a lot of space to put my butternut squash around it, plus a couple of whole garlic cloves. And then I'm just going to add some olive oil or avocado oil on top and some salt and pepper. Then I'm just going to put that in the oven at 425 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes until that squash looks nice and roasted and a little bit blistered on the edges. I'm going to be cooking this Halloween-shaped pasta in the meantime. Once that butternut squash is cooked and the cheese is nice and melty and golden, I'm going to take that out of the oven and start spreading that cheese. And I'm going to also smash the garlic cloves so that way they're easy to mix together with everything else. And now that the pasta is cooking, I can take some of that pasta water, about ½ cup at a time, and add it in and start mixing it all together to make that sauce very nice and saucy and the nice thickness that I want. Now, I recommend using any boursin cheese for this that you like, or even just cream cheese would work fine too. Then add all of the pasta in there and any more pasta water that you want, mix it up. And that's going to be it for this dish. It's very easy. You can add any veggies that you like. Grape tomatoes would work really well for a dish like this too, and the whole family loved it. It is very rich though, so just keep that in mind. Next, I have a whole lot of basil in my garden I need to use up. And so I don't have pine nuts on hand, but I do have a lot of cashews. And so I'm going to add some cashews here to a food processor, about a cup, then add some oil, minced garlic, some lemon juice. I accidentally got a lemon seed in there, so I had to fish that out. So be careful that you don't get the lemon seeds in there. And then added some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. You could use pecorino or Parmesan Reggiano, whatever you have on hand is fine. And I will mention that I'm using salted cashews, so I didn't add any salt. But if you wanted to, you could use just raw unsalted and then add salt to taste. But either way, you want to make sure you add salt to taste with this sauce once it's done, just to make sure it's to your liking. I blended all that together until it was nice and combined, then took off the lid and took a spatula to scrape down the sides to get everything down there, then added all my basil. I didn't add the basil at first because I didn't want it to bruise the basil being in the food processor too long, so I just add that at the end, and that's what I recommend. Then I added some more oil to make sure it was nice and thin because the cashews do make it really thick, so just add more oil to your preference, and then you'll see that this turns out really nice and beautiful. The flavor of this sauce is delightful. I definitely recommend giving this one a try. It's very budget friendly, and for a family of 4, you really only need about half of the sauce at a time, so you can save the rest of the sauce by putting it in an ice cube tray like this and topping it with a little bit of olive oil and then covering it with a reusable wrap, a lid, or a plastic wrap or something and putting it in the freezer. Then I'm just going to cook up my veggies in some oil in a big pan. I'm just using tomatoes and zucchini from the garden, and I'm just going to saute that until it's nice and cooked through to my liking. I like my zucchini a little bit with a bite and not too mushy, and so that's why it looks like that. I like it that way. Then I'll turn off the heat and add half the pesto and some pasta water. I was cooking the pasta in the meantime too. Got to have that pasta water to make everything nice and smooth. So add as much of that pasta water as you like, then add your pasta, and you can add more pasta water later too if you find that it's not saucy enough, and that's what we did. Then just give it a nice toss and make sure you serve this with extra Parmesan cheese to go on top. It really adds a nice little burst of flavor and saltiness on top. I highly recommend giving this one a try. It's so delicious. Unfortunately, I did get sick, so a couple of the boxes of mac and cheese did get used this week, along with one of the frozen pizzas. And we ate the frozen taquitos as well, and I'm happy to have another freezer meal here in case I can't seem to cook again due to being sick. And I did go grocery shopping to make another meal plan, so stay tuned for that next week.
I hope you love those recipes, and I hope you got a few ideas for things to make with things that you have on hand in your house. I do have some meal plans if you'd like to check those out and get a few more ideas for things to make too. Please be sure to give me a little thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to see more, and make sure you put that bell on so you get notifications every time I post. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.